Welcome to another exciting episode from Marvelous Videos. I'm your host, Tia Ayer. Mecha's XLR hit the airwaves from May 2004 to January 2005, broadcasting a glorious 26 episode in between that period. Two present-day slackers, Jamie and Coop, had inherited a giant robot, Mecha's XLR, which was from the future. XLR stood for Extra Large Robot. Kiva, who was the Mecha's original pilot, joined Jamie and Coop as they often lay waste to the New Jersey area on an almost weekly basis. Since the show was canceled about 10 years ago, it has developed a cult following. There have been attempts to revive the series, both showrunners and of fans. Today at Marvelous Videos, we look into whether the show deserves a revival or not. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you would like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What the animated series is all about. On the Toonami block of the Cartoon Network channel, the American animated action comedy Mecha's XLR was broadcast. The animation was created by George Christic and Jody Schaefer. Chris Prynowski, working under his company Titmouse Inc., was the animation director for the movie. The program, which was formerly called Lowbrow, had its broadcast premiere in August 2002 as the result of a Cartoon Network summer contest to choose a new cartoon. The winning entry in that competition, Mecha's XLR, made its debut on May 1st of that year. The series was canceled 3 months after the last episode aired on April 26, 2005. Christic's first experience with animated television came through his employment as a writer and story editor on MTV's Downtown. His ability to create his television series, complete with robots, time travel, aliens, and outlandish humor, was made possible by this nomination for an Emmy. While playing video games, Jody Schaefer and George Christic conceived the idea of an animated series where the main character would use his gaming ability to control a huge robot. The two were raised on Japanese mecha anime, which provided much of the series' inspiration. The general look of the series was also influenced by both Western and Japanese animation. The humor regularly references or mocks well-known anime and video game tropes, as well as Coop and Jamie's sluggish lifestyle that are commonly associated with aficionados of these things. Mecha's XLR was created by Cartoon Network Studios, while Titmouse Inc. handled the majority of the season 1 animation work as well as the main title. The pilot short, Lowbrow, was broadcast on Cartoon Network from August 23rd through the 25th, 2002, to choose which pilot will be developed into the following cartoon after the competing pilots. A sneak peek of the then upcoming cartoon codename Kids Next Door was presented. By the time the competition was through, Lowbrow had become the contestant with the highest level of popularity, and as a consequence, it was chosen and given the go-ahead to become a full series. After several delays from its initial release date in December 2003, Mecha's XLR finally had its Toonami block premiere on May 1st, 2004, to compete with Disney and Nickelodeon. Cartoon Network executives intended to convert to more live-action series. However, due to production challenges, it was scrapped. Contrary to what Jody Schaefer said in an interview with Waffle Press, Mecha's XLR was a popular program, yet it was canceled after just 2 seasons, with the final episode airing on January 15, 2005. Mecha's XLR is now considered a beloved cult classic. However, a new season cannot be commissioned because the show was unhappily generated as a tax loss. Reruns of the program were occasionally shown from January 16, 2005 until June 24, 2006, before being fully removed from the network at this time. It was moved to the Saturday morning graveyard time slot of 3:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It hasn't been broadcast on American television since that time. Similar events happened to the Toonami original series IGPX, although it was spared because of a very intricate production contract. The same strategy could not be used to reinstate Mecha's on the airwaves since Mecha's was exempt from the same rules. Earth is engaged in a feudal conflict with the Glorft, a hostile alien race in the year 3037. The human resistance obtains a large robot prototype from the Glorft and transforms it into a potent war weapon, dubbing it Mecha's, or Mechanized Earth Guard Attack System. It is a last-ditch effort to preserve the world. The plan is to send Mecha's and its designated pilot, Kiva Andrew, 2 years into the past to the battle battle of the final stand using a time-traveling device, which would be the last significant assault waged by humans against the Glorft. Although humanity was defeated in this conflict, the resistance fighters, Kiva in particular, believe that Magus can swing the balance and deliver the Glorft a crushing defeat. The plot is thwarted by a Glorft invasion, which forces the human resistance to send Magus back in time before the required preparations have been made. The attack blasts off Magus's head and destroys its time drive, which causes the injured Mecha to unwittingly travel back to a junkyard in 1930s New Jersey. It remains there and rots away over the years until a slack mechanic named Harold Kupolowski discovers it in the year 2004. Coop converts Magus into a hot rod project by significantly repairing and modifying it, painting it in flames, and adding his antique muscle car to replace its missing head, and giving it the name XLR for Extra Large Robot. When Coop is showing his closest friend Jamie how to use the Mecha, Kiva arrives in the 21st century to acquire Magus. She unwillingly volunteers to instruct Coop, who is now the only one who can control the Mecha. After learning that Coop has changed it, it is now up to Coop, Jamie, and Kiva to work together to preserve Earth from the Glorft and other dangers, assuming Coop doesn't unwittingly wind up destroying it first. Kiva is disappointed that the Glorft has followed her through time. One of the tales that would have been considered if the program had succeeded to get a third season was the discovery that Coop is somehow connected to or accountable for the creation of the Glorft. Despite the show's stellar ratings, it wasn't renewed for a third season due to management changes and the CEO supposedly not understanding it. According to the Screwed by the Network post on TV Tropes, the show was written off and is no longer allowed to legally run on the network, in addition to other things. The only other appearances of characters from the program were Kiva in the OKKO Let's Be Heroes episode, crossover Nexus, and background cameos in the bumpers for CN's 20th anniversary. The show was never able to have a DVD distribution as well, thereby keeping it in the digital limbo. Even years later, when the show's creator tried to convince CN to bring it back for Toonami's revival, they got a message that essentially said that the network had no interest in doing so. Given how ardently CN fights to keep the program from returning, one may assume that someone there has a grudge against this particular series. A poster of Magus XLR may be seen in Jake's room in the episode Smell the Umbrella Stand of the television show 2.5 Men. How it all started. The Glorft, an alien warrior race with a voracious thirst for conquest, and humanity are at war in the future. Kiva Andrew of the Earth Coalition and her troops confront the Glorft to defend Magus, a prototype robot that humans stole from the Glorft. The Glorft and the Garoth are attempting to take back Magus. After encountering resistance from the humans, Garoth sends a UMD to deal with them. Kiva then prepares by opening a time vortex to transport Magus back in time. The Battle of the Last Stand, the Glorft's final great human assault, is where Magus will be dispatched. Although humanity was defeated in that fight, Kiva is convinced that Magus may turn to the tide of the conflict and deliver the Glorft a crushing defeat. Although her commanding officer has warned her of dire repercussions, Kiva insisted that they don't exist. Magus's head is destroyed by the Glorft, who then intercept her and transport Magus to an unknown time in the past. To retrieve Magus, Kiva and the Glorft enter the portal. In Jersey City in the present, Coop shows his best pal Jamie how to use Magus. Coop acknowledges that Magus was located in the junkyard. Coop healed Magus and gave it a vehicle for its severed head when he saw that it was hurt. As Coop and Jamie test Magus, Kiva, who wants Magus back, assaults them. Kiva is vanquished by Coop and discovers that she is powerless over Magus due to the modifications that Coop had made to it. Magus can only currently be controlled by Coop. She also knows that Coop broke Magus's time drive, which allowed him to travel through time. Kiva agrees to tutor Coop after he pushes the tachyon beacon to aid the Glorft in finding them. The Glorft attack, but Magus defeats them because of Coop's skillful piloting. Despite being the sole survivor, Garoth sends a UMD. Although Magus is unable to overcome the UMD, a satellite collides with the UMD and disables it, just as Garoth is about to destroy Magus. Garoth departs, but not before promising to see Coop one one more time. While returning to his flagship, Garoth speaks with his second-in-command and discovers that ever since they left the temporal anomaly, they have been stuck in Earth's past. He also asserts that they would be able to travel across time if they discover Magus and its time drive. Then Garoth decides to abduct Magus so that they may go back in time, unaware that Coop had put to waste the time flux already. After that, Coop visits Earth to eat hamburgers, and Kiva says that she should have stayed in the future. In the second episode of the show, a new antagonist named Magnanimous makes his appearance. In the first scene of the show, Jawbreaker and Brutalizer engage in a robot versus robot fight while Coop pilots Magus and laughs at the game's elements while eating chicken with Kiva and Jamie. Magus draws Magnanimous's attention as he watches this on a screen. Later, as Jamie is reading a comic book about the space Amazons and Coop is repairing Magus, Kiva is attempting to build a second time drive. Coop is presented with an invitation to take part in the Galactic Combat Championship Federation by Magnanimous. They all take off towards the space station that would be the site of the Galactic Combat Federation Bash Fest against Kiva's objections because staying put would put Earth at risk of a Galorth attack. There, Coop plays Supernova in an initial round. Jamie makes a hefty wager on Magus, and Magnanimous orders Kiva to seek parts to assemble a new time drive. Supernova is promptly defeated by Coop, who then advances to the following bout. Kiva has enough parts to finish the time drive, but one of the parts rolls off the shelf and into a restricted area. When Kiva discovers it, security guards attack her. She quickly defeats them, and she begins to believe Magnanimous could be plotting something. Magnanimous assures Coop that if he wins the second match, he would throw the third. However, Coop rejects it. Magnanimous used metal tentacles to hold Magus still when the third match begins so that his opponent may attack him. Once Kiva connects to the system and destroys the trap, Coop is able to prevail in the conflict. If Coop doesn't toss the match, Magnanimous kidnaps Kiva and Jamie and threatens to send his friends into the quantum singularity. Despite Kiva and Jamie being able to escape and join Magus, Coop prevails against his opponents. Magnanimous orders all of his war robots to kill Coop out of rage, but Magus triumphs over all of them. Magnanimous then uses his robot to fight Magus. Magnanimous attacks Magus with sonic blasts, forcing Coop to utilize Magus's sonic weapon, the Jammer. Magnanimous is defeated by the Jammer, and Coop is off-key singing, severely destroying the space station. Then Magus uses its energy sword to separate Magnanimous from his robot, sending him hurtling into the quantum singularity. The belt is then taken by Magus as he exits the station. Jamie urges Coop to turn toward the planet of the space Amazons because he believes that there is food court there, and Coop complies. Coop, Jamie, and Kiva are seen eating at the space Amazons food court. Jamie is shown to have a black eye, which might be the consequence of an encounter with the space Amazons. In the third episode, Coop is working out in the junkyard in New Jersey on a scorchingly hot day. Coop launches into orbit to test the spacecraft's engines as he collides with a ship transporting the Regis and dumps the prisoners on board. Talbot and Florkson, two crab-headed aliens, are the ship's pilots. They became alarmed since Regis was meant to be poured into a black hole. Talbot is eager to sample Earth libations, since he has heard that they are excellent. Coop is driving Magus when there is a traffic jam. During the debate of the Mega Slush, Kiva notes that people in her day drank ration packets of electrolyte rehydrating fluid. Jamie and Coop were not amused. Regis soars to Earth as dramatic music is playing, then starts destroying stuff and yelling incredibly horrible bad guy things, while Coop and Jamie are searching for change in Magus' chair. Kiva answers cynically and angrily to Jamie's request to use Magus to compute their change. The crab-headed aliens in charge of the spaceship give Kiva a message. Coop is looking forward to his slushie when Regis destroys the first Mega Slushie machine. With Magus, Coop decimates Regis, but as it regenerates, Coop crushes it once again. Kiva examines Regis. Regis has already absorbed a nearby playground and large construction equipment by the time our heroes reach Magus. This time, while he is taking it down, he destroys the Mega Slush Corp building. Coop attempts to obtain a Mega Slush, is thwarted by Regis after having once more knocked him down cold. Then, when additional Regis troops begin to emerge, Regis expands to a size far greater than Magus, yet Coop, Kiva, and Jamie are still able to escape from Regis' chest. When Coop attempts to attack, Magus shuts down because its internal temperature is too high. Magus starts to release smoke after Kiva realizes that Regis is a solar power. To deplete the Regis, Coop decides to keep Magus running. After persuading Kiva to give it a try, Nearby, Jamie chuckles as he has a brain freeze. The plan works, destroying Jersey City and covering it in ash from mega thrusters. Finally, Coop also gets his slushie from the machine. Tolbert and Florkson are shown talking about the hot tea while removing the Regis mess, and Florkson urges Tolbert to go quickly because there are only 3 months till the sun rises again. Characters and cast of the cartoon series. Voiced by David DeLuce, Harold Kuplowski. The main character in the latest Magus pilot is a junk food eater from Jersey City who likes video games. His life is drastically changed when he comes upon a large robot that has been damaged and left in a junkyard for more than 70 years. He decides to turn the robot into a personal car. Despite not having the most pleasing look as a fighter driving an advanced mecha, his years of playing different types of video games helped him acquire the skill of engaging a real battle. His main fighting techniques were influenced by a variety of video games on wrestling, dancing, racing, and combat. Despite the fact that he may be a cunning opponent, especially if someone gets in the way of what he wants, Coop prefers to gung-ho method of smashing now and asking questions later. Because of his recklessness, he typically ends up doing more damage than good. The bulk of his outstanding acts is unintended. He tends to be the most relaxed of the three and is essentially just a simple person who wants to carry on enjoying his way of life free from all the interruptions. Voiced by Wendy Lee, Kiva Andrew was meant to be the Magus' engineer and pilot before Coop's significant change. Although she was born more than 1,000 years in the future, she is currently stranded in the present since Magus' time drive was destroyed. She has a no-nonsense demeanor and is intelligent, courageous, and tough. But as the series progresses, she grows more at ease with a contemporary life and has a tiny sense of humor. Kiva, who is often confined to the back seat, uses a holographic display to offer information on the Magus' system condition, navigational guidance, and perception of the weakness of an opponent. She may be considered Coop's co-pilot. Kiva typically demonstrates better abilities in both robotic and hand-to-hand combat because she makes up the muscle of the gang. Coop's lifelong friend Jamie, played by Steve Blum, is a skinny, smart aleck slacker with aspirations to be cool. He constantly attempts to flirt with ladies, visualizing himself being liked by many attractive women, but he frequently fails. At one time, he even went so far as to pretend to be Coop. The majority of the time, Jamie has a fearful and weak disposition, and he regularly runs away from danger at the first sight of it. Only when his friends are in immediate danger does he show bravery. He makes little contributions compared to Kiva and Coop, largely providing scathing comic relief. In reality, Jamie is only a passenger and frequently enjoys an adventure of Coop's misguided escapades. Garoth, portrayed by Clancy Brown, is the primary antagonist of the program. War Master Garoth and the head of the brutal Glorft cyborg cephalopod alien race. Garoth attempted to save Magus by pursuing Kiva and reversing the timeline with his army. Because of his hasty actions, he is trapped in the past like Kiva unless he discovers the time drive within Magus. He routinely launches attacks to try to kill Coop, regain Magus, and conquer Earth, since he hates Coop for always getting in his way. But he always fails in some way, usually owing to Coop's sheer good fortune.
Your mom's so gonna kill you.
What happened to the cartoon? Positive reviews were given to the program, which ToonZone ranked as the 4th best tunes of the 2000s. Top 5 Cartoon Network originals. It has been widely asserted that the majority of the broadcasting network management, including its CEO, did not fully comprehend the show's sense of humor, what it was parodying, or where it derives its references. This is in addition to the fact that some viewers who weren't fans of anime culture or video games, or who were otherwise unfamiliar with them, felt out of the loop. This is believed to have had a role in the program's final death. Magus XLR was inspired by a full set of anime tropes and cliches, as opposed to, for example, Teen Titans, which simply had an animation style as an anime influence. There have been several fan movements and petitions to bring the show back since it was discontinued, despite only having catered to a small population. In 2012, Chris Pranosky and George Christic collaborated with the Magus XLR team team to develop a brand new television series for Disney XD called Metrocity. It shares Mecha's XLR's spectacular action, the 1980s and the 1990s satire and sense of humor. The project only lasted for one season. Fans on Twitter started using the hashtag #BringBackMega's XLR at the beginning of 2013, when co-creator George Christic said that he was in discussions with Cartoon Network representatives about reacquiring the rights to the show so that they can bring it back on their own. Mega's XLR had been dropped by Cartoon Network, therefore Titmouse Inc. would have to purchase the rights back to the show. Christic tweeted on April 29, 2013 that he and Chris Prynoski were meeting at Titmouse Inc. to discuss reviving the program and Metrocity. Although, according to George Christic, Megas was written off as a tax loss and as such cannot be used, at least domestically, in any manner, otherwise the network would get into some sort of tax legal problem. In a 2014 interview, Warner Brothers has successfully bought the rights to the series, according to Christic's report from February 8, 2019. Nevertheless, it is still too early to speculate on what this would mean for the show's future. Marvelous verdict. The fact that the protagonist lives by his ideals despite their many failures is refreshing and adds to the series' originality, because Jamie is the archetypal woman-seeking coward and is ready to criticize Coop's tactics. He is a great source of comic relief. Kiva finds a good middle ground between the two whiners who can't stop complaining, yet have to admit that what works, works. Thank God they didn't make it seem too serious. The real star is unquestionably Megas, the updated machine with a tone of weapons that will rescue the future. I'm always in awe of what kind of weapons it will employ next, which is part of what makes this show so amazing. In our opinion, the show definitely deserves a revival. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.